and share together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines above each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
So, in keeping with another question. Here we go. I don't get to see these yet, Don. No cheating. There we go. In keeping with our open, more grace and serendipity-filled service, I have not chosen the opening words yet. I need your help with that. Could someone call out a number between 416 and 445? 411. That's not between 416 and 425. 445. 417 by Barbara Peskin. For the beauty of the earth, I'm a little bit hot, Jared. All right, you're working it. For the beauty of the earth, this spinning green ball, yes. Gaia, mother of everything, we walk gently across your back to come together again in this place. Whether this place is this physical place or this place on the internet where we are together, we come here to remember how we can live, to remember who we are, to create how we will be. Gaia, our home, the lap in which we live, welcome us. And serendipity-wise, that is so significant because what is often the most commonly requested hymn by UUs is Blue Boat Home. I have no doubts it's in the stack that Brian's holding. Come, let us worship together.
Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley and to this unusual question box service today. I'm Don Close and I'll be your worship associate. This is a welcoming congregation and we're always working hard to better welcome and care for one another. If this is your first time here, we're so happy you've come. And whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. As we begin, we want to acknowledge that this church occupies land in Huichin, the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. We understand that we continue to benefit from the seizure and occupation of this land. We acknowledge and embrace our responsibility to make restorative action. We affirm that this is a deeply felt commitment of our congregation to be in right relationship with Indigenous communities, aligning in solidarity, supporting Indigenous projects, and caring properly for the land. Let us kindle our chalice flame with these words by Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, and celebration of the life we share together. We also pause to remind ourselves of some of the foundations of resilience. With Reverend Michelle, we light a candle of courage, a candle of acts of service, a candle of fellowship, and a candle of hope. May we find and cultivate these foundations of resilience in ourselves and in one another.
Good morning. The nominations are in, and because the folks who are watching virtually, hello everybody who's watching on the internet, we will only sing one verse of most of the hymns because people won't know what the words are unless they happen to have a hymnal at home. So you might want to find your hymnal because there will be no words on the screen because there was no way to prepare. We will start with one which seems really appropriate for right now. When we are gathered, it's in the gray hymnal number 359. When we are gathered. We hardly ever do it. Let's try another one. Another one. This one I think everybody will know. 1, 2, 3. Spirit of life.
Go ahead and stand up. We'll do a few of these.
Two numbers before that, we'll build a land, the first verse. 1, 2, 1, 121. If you can find the teal hymnal, I love that this one was nominated. This is Ancient Mother for Father's Day. It's 1069. 1069. And we have sung this a fair number of times, but we'll sing it, it's just got one verse, so we'll sing it through twice so we make sure we really feel like we've got it. There's another one ties in with that. It's in the gray book, number 8, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. Number 8 in the gray book. this is so nice. Can I ask you all to nominate one that maybe you didn't have a chance to write down? Anybody want to call one out? Lift every voice and sing. Thank you. We'll have more at the end of service. You can have a seat. Thank you.
Please join me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
in body or in spirit, please join in. So we are celebrating Juneteenth today. I'm going to read you a little bit about it and then read you a story about it. On June 19th, 1865, soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing the end of the Civil War and the end of slavery in the United States. It was more than 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, celebrated every year on June 19th. Juneteenth commemorates the announcement of the abolition of slavery and the emancipation of Black citizens throughout the entire United States. So we've been focusing this month on blessings. We talked about the blessings of the sun, and now we are going to talk about the blessing of freedom. This story is Juneteenth for Maisie. It's a children's story. Maisie wants to play outside, but it was too late. It's getting dark, Maisie. It's time to stay inside. Maisie wants a cookie, but it's time for bed. Not now, little one. It's too close to bedtime. Maisie wants to stay up late, but she is too little. Bedtime is the rule, sweet girl. Why so grumpy, Sugar Bear? Asked Dad. I can't go where I want, have what I want, or do what I want, answers Maisie. Well, tomorrow you can have a celebration, says Dad. What are we celebrating? Asks Maisie. We will celebrate the day your great-great-grandpa Mose crossed into liberty. The day will be celebrated by us and many more families on a day we call Juneteenth. Dad lifts Maisie into his arms. I bet you're tired of hearing no all the time. Well, great-great-grandpa Mose heard no even more. Grandpa Mose worked in fields that stretched all the way to sunset. He and the other enslaved people would be bone tired, but they had to keep going. Their enslavers wouldn't let them quit. But as they worked, they thought about freedom. And before they finally went to sleep at night, they prayed about freedom and made plans for change and a better future. Some slaves ran north to freedom, following a bright star in the sky. They sweat, they bled, and they cried, till those tears were quieted by a single proclamation from a brave president. Grandpa Mose heard that proclamation read from the balcony of the hotel on that warm day in Galveston, Texas. Grandpa Mose heard nothing but cheers, saw nothing but happiness, and felt nothing but pride shared by all those around him. The cheers became dancing, the dancing became celebrating. It went on and on into the night. Grandpa Mose and the others had found freedom. They continued to work, but this time they were paid for their hard work. So they worked and they saved and they never forgot. And the moment they heard, the moment that changed their lives forever. But things weren't perfect. Black people still struggled to stand shoulder to shoulder with white people. They still weren't treated as equals. It wasn't easy, but they never gave up. And every year on Juneteenth, they remembered. They marched for jobs. They lobbied for schools and the right to vote. They shouted for opportunity. And every year on Juneteenth, they celebrated and remembered. They learned and they grew. They forgave. They excelled and achieved. They became heroes and presidents and vice presidents and Supreme Court justices and so many other things. Now, sweet Maisie, it's your turn to celebrate, just like great-great-grandpa Mose. It's your turn, Maisie, to eat some barbecue and drink some strawberry pop. And to remember. I liked this story because it talked about a girl's experience of Juneteenth and her family history, and I learned that my biological father, who is African American, was actually born in Texas. And so Juneteenth happens in Texas. My father was born in Texas, so I'm definitely so grateful that we all get to be free together. So blessings to that. Blessed be. All right.
All right, now while our children are going back with their families or back to sit in the corner, Oh my goodness, did I just say that? I need to be sent to the corner for this. Let me invite our newest members and also Lonnie and Victoria to come on up to the front because we've got some recognizing and celebrating to do. Oh, I think the kids are going out to do something fun. Excellent. Now, what is super exciting, yes, I know I'm short and here on the floor right now, but there we go. It's been so long because of the pandemic that we've been able to gather and to do this and celebrate our newest members. So this is a super exciting time we get to do that, and Lonnie is going to tell us a little bit more.
During these 2 years of, as you know, just incredible isolation, these wonderful human beings said, listen, I'm going to join my voice with you UCB members to make changes in how we treat each other, how we treat the world, and we're just so grateful. Victoria and I are blown away by our new members. And so we will have some words. I think they'll be up on the screen shortly for our new member welcome. But we have some beautiful roses, and I'd like to call out the names. And if you could just wave a hand so that your other congregant friends can know who you are. Candy Caprograssi, Tom Clyde.
We'll be able to applaud at the end, don't worry.
Haley Hibbler, her daughter Vivian, her son Sasha, Vahid Shemansky, his daughter Vivian, his son Sasha, Carolyn James, Kristen Jensen, and her daughter Annie, Megan Kirschbaum, Deborah Lloyd, Deb Lloyd, Gary Lloyd, Denny Parker, Merrily Parker, my sister Everly Delfino Salas Pash, Karen Werner. And we have members now who are in other states. Sherry Bell, Port Friday, Washington. She will be online listening. People who couldn't make it today. Debbie Clifford, new member. Paula D. Felice sends her regards from Scotland on her vacation. Nikki Lindquist, a member in Miami, Florida. You all know Jason Russell, our worship associate. He's actually came in during this COVID time. Sylvia Schertzer, many of you know Sylvia. Haley Smith, who was one of our congrats to grads last year, graduated high school, said, I want to be a member, and is mentoring the children now. Monica Thyberg and Sarah Ward, last year's worship associate. We all know Sarah. All right. So, guys, do we have the new member welcome?
It's up here.
Is it there? All right. So everyone has their sheets. The congregation, we're going to say our paragraph first. Then the new members will respond, call in response, and then all together we will say. So, congregation, let us begin. We warmly welcome you into membership. We are glad you have joined us. We know you with your ideas, energies, resources, and commitment will keep this church a vital, growing community. May we renew today our covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Welcome. New members.
We enter into membership of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. We bring to the community our strengths, our limits, our desires. We ask for your love and encouragement as we make our places among you. We are glad to be here.
All together. We commit ourselves to honesty in our speaking, care in our relating, peace in our meeting, courtesy in our conflict, courage in our speech, integrity in our action. May we be true to ourselves, true to each other, and true to our vision of what together we are becoming. So be it. Thank you, church. Our new members will be after services so that you can say hi. You'll recognize them with the flower in their hand. And thank you, my friends.
And welcome. We are so blessed to have you. Thank you. Isn't that marvelous to see our growing, vibrant community? Let us take a moment of time now to enter into a quiet space in ourselves. I invite you to place your feet flat on the floor, lean back in your seat, and take a nice few deep breaths, letting them flow in, filling your body with air, with energy, with life, and then releasing them. And in and out. A meditative reading this morning I'll read twice. It's by Yehuda Amichai. From the place where we are right, flowers will never grow in the spring. The place where we are right is hard and trampled like a yard. But doubts and loves dig up the world like a mole, a plow. And a whisper will be heard in the place where the ruined house once stood. From the place where we are right, flowers will never grow in the spring. The place where we're right is hard and trampled like a yard. But doubts and loves dig up the world like a mole, a plow. A whisper will be heard in the place where the ruined house once stood. Let us join now in silence. Today that's different. This is called a question box or a question basket service. So I have questions that y'all have asked, and Don is going to hand them to me. I have not seen them yet. So here we go. Oh, thanks. Is God real? You know, one of the kids once asked me a much easier one, why don't we talk about God in church? And you know, Unitarian Universalists, individually, some of us have certain answers and truths about this question. Others of us are still asking questions or wondering about it. And that's all okay. So I'm going to go a little bit existential with the question, is God real? Are you ready for it? Because how can we say if anything is real? Whether we are, if you get into the simulation hypothesis, if we are living in a virtual simulation, or is this the pew that you're sitting on real, or is it simply a sum of the perceptions coming into your nervous system that you are interpreting as something and therefore defining as real? I told you I could get existential with this one. An answer to the question, is God real, that I absolutely love the answer of in the context of a religious community, is the one that the Ethical Society officially says. And the Ethical Society is a largely humanist religious tradition. They wouldn't call it religious, humanist philosophical tradition, and there are a few dozen ethical societies around the country. Their answer, which I love, is when it comes to the question of is God real, it doesn't matter what your answer is here in our community. We gather and celebrate and ask questions of life regardless of our answer to that question. So did you like my non-answer to the question? Unfortunately, someone else asked me a more pointed question. What is your relationship to the divine? Thank you, Lonnie. You know, I grew up Southern Baptist and had a very definite answer to that question. And then I had a very definite answer to the question about Jesus and Jesus as a Savior. I was a Southern Baptist. And then I started losing that answer. I said, okay, Savior, I don't believe there's an individual who has 2,000 years ago saved me from anything. And then I began to question the particular interpretation of God or the divine that I had been taught all of those years. And since then, I've been working on finding my own answer to that question. I'm still on that journey. I'm still on the journey of how do I define? Do I believe there is something greater than ourselves in the universe? Yes. Do I believe that there are energies that influence us as humans outside of ourselves? Yes. And then I start to really mess with my brain when I look at some of the things, because I fully believe in the theory of evolution, but then you put intelligent design ideas in front of me, which is that there is some force that guided that evolution, and I stop and say, oh my goodness, Michelle, you don't have a definite feeling one way or the other about this. And I feel like I should, but I don't. So I'm still on my own journey with that question. And I'm wondering how many of y'all are still on your journey with the question, what is your relationship to the divine? Many of us. So thank you for joining me on that journey. All right, Don, what else do you have for me? Okay, these kind of go together. Prayer and meditation often seem to be used interchangeably in our service, but how are they different? What does prayer imply that meditation does not, and vice versa? What's interesting is that I think they're accidentally used interchangeably, because I have in my script for the service prayer/meditation, which doesn't mean they're interchangeable. It means I might go one way or the other on a Sunday. And I think they end up going into like the screen and such with a slash when that wasn't actually the intention at all. A meditation can be like the poem that I read today, something that some wisdom from outside of ourselves that allows us to sit and explore it. While a prayer is a beseech to that which is outside of ourselves, if I might call it that, which is specifically directed to that presence, whether it be love, whether it be God, whether it be peace, whether it be the interconnected web. So a prayer is more of a beseechment, I just made up that word, or something directed, and a meditation is this time to open ourselves for wisdom. There's overlap, but I do see them as specifically different. And I'm sorry if I confuse with my little slash. That means I'm going to choose. What does worship mean in the context of Unitarian Universalism? We call these worship services, and I say, come let us worship together, but what does it really mean? Okay, this is a good one. And different Unitarian Universalist groups have come up with all sorts of answers to this question, and some of it, I feel, harkens back to many people's individual knee-jerk reactions to the religious upbringing of their childhood or past. Because many Unitarian Universalists are what we call come-inners. Some come in and come to Unitarian Universalism from not really having practiced a religious tradition, but many of us come from having practiced at some point in time in our lives one or many different religious traditions. I was raised Southern Baptist. Worship meant something very, very specific in that context. So therefore, there is ambivalence or even uncertainty or rejection of many worship and spirituality-based terminology in our circles. The first Unitarian Universalist congregation I attended, it was not called a sanctuary, it was a meeting room. And the seminary where I attended, here in the area, Star King, the worship time, weekly worship, ended up going through an evolution of names while I was there. It was worship, okay, it was chapel. It literally, at one point in time, was officially named that thing we do on Tuesdays. To me, this is a special time, though. To me, it is about finding and embracing what is celebratory about life and about our community. And if you were to ask, what is the thing that we as a religious community do regularly in the greatest numbers, this time on Sundays is it. To me, this is, if you use a body analogy for a church or for a congregation, this is the heartbeat of the congregation. This regular gathering and filling and moving life through us. So I do call that worship. All right, what else do you have for me? Okay. The meaning of membership at UUCB, and Lonnie, this is not in your handwriting. Oh, it's Victoria's handwriting. You know, there's a Unitarian Universalist theologian, James Luther Adams. Who here has heard his name? He's amazing. Okay, enough. If not enough people raise their hands, I was going to say I've got to preach on him for half of next church year so you can hear about him. And he really grappled with the idea of membership, especially voluntary membership, because nobody forced you to sign a book here. And you aren't a member of a church by virtue of where you live. That's the way it used to be in what the 18th century, 19th century. That's why they were called parish churches. It was geographically tied. This is something you're part of voluntarily. And James Luther Adams, he really grappled with that. Okay, what does it mean to then join something and be a member? And he was hundreds of organizations is what he was a member of. And someone at some point in time is going to do a study of what were all of the associations he was a member of, what did they have in common, and why did he join them? But it's a true statement that most of the folks in this room and online have joined a voluntary association, this one. So what does it mean to be a member? What is an interesting thing about being a member of a church is that you're a member of this religious community and you're also a member of a corporate entity, because by signing the book, it gives you the right to vote, and we vote on our budget. You will be voting next year on calling a minister to this church. That's a big deal, that vote has power, and being a member means you get to vote because you are a shareholder, a stakeholder, an owner of this organization. But it also means that this organization depends on you. So membership is this balance of both these rights and powers that you get, as well as the responsibilities, because we are largely a volunteer-run organization. You have a small number of staff members, but so much of this church happens because of volunteers. Who here has done something to volunteer for this church? Yes. This is a volunteer-powered organization, so that's the meaning of membership, is that you are part of making this place happen, you are part owner in this happening, and you also get to be part of this amazing community. What is your vision of the, quote, best adult education program? I think I'll answer this with another question. What's unique about being here that you can't get from TED Talks or the New York Times? Because that, to me, is actually part of the purpose of our adult religious education or adult religious exploration, is that what are we doing here that's unique? Because there's so much content and wisdom available out in our ever so connected global world today. What do we have that's unique to offer to our adults? And to me, that is grounding and deepening our Unitarian Universalist identity, grounding and deepening the questions that our Unitarian Universalism asks of us, whether they are ethical questions, moral questions, spiritual questions. I bet one of those cards says, what does spirituality mean? If it doesn't, then I get to dodge that one and maybe preach on it sometime instead. So my vision for the best adult education program is one that helps with that grounding and also asks some good deep questions. And then part B of that is something that I feel like Unitarian Universalist congregations could do a lot better in, and that is encouraging and equipping all of us to try out and deepen into and lean into various spiritual practices in our lives. So I actually have, Heaven and I have some big plans for working on that and sharing some of those next year. Okay? All right. What is the hardest part of my job as an interim minister? And what's the fun part, too? I'll start with the fun part. It is so fun to get to go and meet different amazing people all the time. This is the 4th congregation I've served after my internship and chaplaincy. And every single time I walk away going, I don't have enough space in my trunk to pack up all the people that I want to take with me. And I'm going to have even more trouble with that here, because it is just so fun and exciting and invigorating to work with exciting folks. And I'm just looking out and IDing and saying, oh yeah, that person and that person and that person and that person. There are so many exciting and deep thinking people here. I find that terribly exciting. I really do. The hardest part, not getting emotionally attached. Another hard part, making myself say uncomfortable things. Because that's one of my jobs as an interim minister, is to point out something that may not be working well, or say, really, why on earth are you doing that? When I know I'm saying something uncomfortable. It's good to say, and it helps the church get stronger, but it's doing the uncomfortable things because I know they help, even though I have a secret for you, and here I'm about to say it on the internet. You ready? I'm a conflict-averse person. I am fundamentally a very conflict-averse person at default. But that doesn't mean I believe all of us, no matter what our tendencies are in that range, have the capacity to work in any of the conflict styles. So another hard thing is not going in my default and hiding under my thick, fuzzy blanket, but actually saying uncomfortable things and helping to push us. And then, I don't know whose handwriting this is. Actually, I do have a suspicion. How will the transition of your leaving and a new minister coming be handled? Is there overlap or communication? There is absolutely overlap and communication. One of the things, and this to me is one of my jobs, I feel, as an interim minister, is to aid that to be the best transition I can possibly aid it to be. And even something so small as what information is handed off is an important thing, because I want to help your next minister be as successful as possible. And I can actually say, after going into my first congregation and receiving one of the worst handoffs I thought I've received, more pitiful ones since, I sat down and wrote the checklist that's being used by the UUA to support ministers in getting ready for that transition. That's how important that transition is to me. So what'll happen this next year as your search committee is talking to ministers. The ministers will also, many of them, will be calling me to say, hey, what's up with this congregation? So we'll have already started talking. So I will likely have, if I haven't already, because I've already talked with a couple of ministers who've asked me, by the way. I will have already started talking, and once that person is chosen, and once April and May come, when you will be voting on calling that person, then it really becomes okay, what do you need from me? And we will be talking a lot from that point so that I can set them up and set you all up for the best start and the best relationship possible. Because that's what I want to do, because that is success for you. How's my time? Okay, he's calling time on me. This is why it's good to have somebody do this. Thank you all for your questions. This is so fun. And if you have any more questions I didn't get to that you're really wondering about, catch me afterwards. I'd love to talk about them. I'll be right up front.
Dear family, I just got the word that one of our new members, Elaine Dawkins, wasn't able to be here, was not able to come this morning. And when the COVID hit, Elaine came up and we all stood 10 feet apart. We cleaned off the pencils and the membership books, and her strength to just come and be part of this community coming out of Southern Baptist was really very inspiring for me. So I just want to make sure we just add Elaine Dawkins' name to the overall thank you for all of our new members today. Thank you.
Thank you for all the good questions. We didn't get time to cover them all, and the ones that weren't asked, that's on me, not on Reverend Michelle. I selected the questions. At this point in our service, we invite you to make an offering. With our offering, each of us has the opportunity to recommit to making UUCB a strong and vibrant community. For now, we are conducting offerings in the sanctuary without passing the plate. Instead, you can either give electronically or you can make a donation in the envelope in the back of the pew in front of you and place it in the donation box in the atrium. Please indicate whether your donation is pledge or plate. Each week, half of our plate offerings are shared with the Good Neighbor organization recommended by our Social Justice Council. This is an essential part of our church's efforts to contribute to social justice projects in the wider community that benefit from our financial support. We hope you will continue to practice generosity with them. This month, our good neighbor is the East Bay Sanctuary Covenant. The EBSC provides accessible legal and social services to support low-income immigrants and asylum seekers fleeing violence and persecution. They practice radical inclusion and focus on historically marginalized communities, including Indigenous people, LGBTQ people, unaccompanied minors, and survivors of gender-based violence. Offerings of any value are received with gratitude. Thank you. Please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
All right, just one brief announcement, and then we'll get to a little bit more singing. So, thank you all so much for being here today. Next Sunday will be a little different. Next Sunday is the annual National Unitarian Universalist General Assembly. Actually starts this Wednesday and runs Wednesday through Sunday. So that's what we're doing for worship instead. If you're going to be viewing it online, it actually starts at 9:30 in the morning, but don't worry, we don't want you here at 9:30. Don't worry about that. But if you want to view it online live, it's 9:30 to 11. And we'll have the link going out so that you can find it easily. And then we'll also have our doors open for you to come here and view a restreaming of the service here on the screen at 11 next Sunday. Does that sound good? All right, we've got a few more hymns, so Brian and Michelle are going to help lead us, and I think Kathleen and Don are helping out. Awesome, let's sing some more.
Good morning again, or good afternoon, I guess now. As you are comfortable, please rise and join in singing. We'll do 4 more hymns, first verse only. The first 2 are both from the gray hymnal. My life flows on, an endless song, and we would be one. We'll start with 108, My Life Flows On, first verse.
Second hymn is number 318, We Would Be One. And 2 from the teal hymnal. The first one is, How could anyone ever tell you, which is 1053. And then we'll sing the very great favorite, Blue Boat Hall. We'll start with 1053.
Anyone ever tell you anything less?
1064.
While one favorite UU hymn says, "To question truly is an answer," sometimes we really do like answers to our questions. Let us go from this time and place continuing to question and to wonder, sharing our thoughts and our wonderings with one another as we continue on this journey of life together. And remember, on this journey, you are never all alone. Blessed be.